So the government is now just straight up stealing money to pay for things.
Perfect.
I know, and I just want to start
when were
with...
they not, actually?
Okay, right. No, normally government theft is called tax, and there are rules, and it's somewhat well understood. You know, there's a guideline, a framework to it. What governments tend not to do in civilized countries is just march in and say, "Oh, you made some money, did you? That's mine now. Where's my cut? Where's my cut, Callum?" And that's what they're doing now. And I just want to say on this, I told you so. Because I like to gloat, and this is a clip from my least viewed podcast segment on YouTube. And I pointed out the media coverage saying the government will not implement a windfall tax was part of a nudge campaign. In other words, it followed a government mass messaging pattern where they're saying, "Oh, we're not going to do that. Absolutely not. Will never happen." And then you hear that and you think, oh, it's coming.
Now that you've heard of it, now we can implement it.
Exactly.
Doesn't sound so mad anymore.
Mm-hmm. Let's play the clip quickly. So the media are campaigning for a windfall tax. This phrase has been doing the rounds on the internet, and the government are currently saying they've ruled it out, which for me is a good sign that it might be brought in over the next few months. This is classic nudge theory. They did the same thing with face masks in schools. Do you remember that whole debate during COVID? As well as the vaccine passport scheme, where they said they had no plans to do it, virtually at the same time when it was revealed that they had tendered about 5 contracts to small companies to develop vaccine passports. Right, so this is not the first time this has happened, right? It's something I've started to get used to, and it's a little bit cynical. By the way, can I just say that's probably my favourite presenter on the Lotus Eaters. I really like that guy.
Shameless.
But I actually wrote a whole series of articles on our website, which you can go and check out if you're a member, talking about this type of government propaganda and nudge theory and various psychological levers that the government uses in order to do that. And to be honest, I don't think I would have spotted this if I hadn't done the preparation, the reading and the research for this series. So it's nice to see some work I did earlier from joining the Lotus Eaters actually coming into play and helping out with the coverage. Back to the present. Okay, so we heard that. That was 3 weeks ago. No windfall tax, guys. Oh, what's that windfall tax? Sunak unveils £21 billion package and U-turns on windfall tax to help Britons hit hard by the cost of living surge. The Chancellor's measures will be partly paid for by the £5 billion raised from a levy on oil and gas companies.
Right, so that should read, government increases price of oil.
I
mean, what else is that? I mean, what do you think the oil companies are going to do?
Yeah. There are so many ramifications and potential ramifications from this thuggish move, quite frankly. This is one of the most myopic things I have seen in politics since I realised that politics existed. It's just, and we'll go in slightly to the details of what this means going forward. But I just want to read for a bit more from this article. Chancellor Rishi Sunak has announced a £15 billion package of cost of living support. Oh, that's good. Including a £400 discount on energy bills for all. That's amazing. And a £650 one-off payment to the poorest 8 million households. Can you see the flaw here? Right. This is not a gift of money. This is a loan that the government is taking out on your behalf, right? You're going to get the £400 discount or rebate or whatever they call it now. Who's paying for that? You are in the future, or you in the past, right? This is not free money. There is no such thing as a free lunch. And by subsidizing energy in this way, of course, that's going to put pressure on energy prices in turn.
To all raise.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, this just makes me really frustrated. I'm actually struggling to get the words out. It's that stupid what they're doing here. They continue. The measures will be partly funded by a temporary levy on oil and gas companies, which are enjoying bumper profits. Temporary levy. Oh, great. As a result of soaring prices, and they're expected to raise £5 billion. It comes after inflation soared to a 40-year high. Why did that happen?
Because they printed loads of money. I mean, I'm sorry. I know we talk about economics like it's very simple, but it is sometimes. Especially when you're dealing with like stupid economics, where people are just being like, "I'll just print the money, nothing will happen," and then they slowly start to worry and then say, "Oh crap, something's happened." But it's not the money, trust me. Or just will help you with the energy prices by raising the energy prices. I mean, it's just painful to listen to.
I know. With energy bills set to climb by a further £800 in the autumn, there's lots of pressures on that. You know, there's the Ukraine crisis, there's sanctions on Russia, and so on and so forth. A lot of things happening around the world, as we'll get into. And the Bank of England warning of apocalyptic food price rises as a result of the war in Ukraine. Also because of inflation. because the Bank of England has been printing money like it's going out of fashion, because technically it literally is. Anyway, if you want to help people with energy bills, how about you suspend taxes on energy and scrap green levies?
That would be the simplest thing to do.
Yeah.
It would also be popular, so why do that?
The green levy and VAT contribute a whopping 30% of your electricity bill, at least, if we go to the next image. As I'm aware, as I've said before, the cost of constructing new power lines in to connect lots of small wind farms and so on might be accounted as an operating cost or a network cost rather than, an environmental cost. So there's ways of fudging these figures as well. But just look at that. There is so much of your bill that is just gibs from the government.
15% to environmental/social obligation cost. I spoke to a friend who works in the energy industry who told me about this. He says the social obligations part might be, it's giving money to people who don't have the money to pay for fuel, so then they can stay warm and not freeze to death in the winter or stuff like that. And you get that, but the majority of it is environmental, meaning it's literally just a green tax.
Yeah.
So great.
Absolutely. There's a huge chunk of your gas bill that the government could get rid of, but they don't want to do that. They want to keep the taxes high and institute a progressive rebate whereby some receive more cash than others. So they're explicitly engaged in social engineering here, right? If you're one of these poorest people who falls below a certain line, then you get more money. That's literally the way it works.
I mean, look at the numbers though. I mean, I read the 15% from the dual one. It's the electricity, 25%. I mean, I don't have gas in my apartment. So that's 25% of what I pay just going straight to green tax.
And then 5% VAT on top of that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. The vicious cycle of government bloat goes like this. You raise taxes, then you throw cash at these mascot groups. You raise more taxes to pay for the cash you're throwing at them, which means mascot groups need more cash thrown at them. And it just carries on and on and on ad infinitum. This is just classic progressive policy fallout. It results in more state power, more state control, less individual agency, and less incentive for productive work. It's completely self-defeating. A genuinely conservative government, I think, would embrace every opportunity to cut taxes, abolish rebates, reduce the size of government, and reduce money printing. So this is a progressive government with blue ribbons. And just to underline that point, if we go to this guy on Twitter, I've been consistently critical of Rishi Sunak and am still amazed he did so little for the most vulnerable in his spring statement, but thrilled by today. The Conservative Party's best tradition is its one nation tradition, and it's looking much healthier today. And it's also been heartening to see the social justice caucus of Tory MPs in full mobilisation. The caucus, founded and serviced by the CSJ think tank, has 60 or 70 active members. Once, the main backbench of Tory groups were mainly about Europe, economy, defence. Not so much now.
No, now it's about social justice, boys.
Yeah.
Which is why you got a 25% tax on the energy for green crap. Fantastic. Wonderful.
I know, it's infuriating. And Boris Johnson, of course, weighs in on this. All households will get £400 off their October energy bills, and the 8 million most vulnerable households will get at least £1,200 of support to help with the cost of living this year. Temporary energy profits levy will help pay for this support and promote investment in our economy.
You know what I don't remember as well is when this was first being nudged, as you say. Like, the Labour Party were just massively talking about this endlessly, about how you need to do it, Boris. You should do it, Boris. And then he just goes and does it. I mean, it's like the lockdowns, like everything. Just the Labour Party says you should do a thing, within 6 months.
It's like the whole green industrial revolution.
Yep.
That was a Corbynite policy that Boris Johnson implemented and that we're paying for.
25% tax. It's not small.
No, it's not. That's a huge amount of money, especially when people are struggling with fuel poverty this year. Now, I do want to say I'm not heartless towards the most vulnerable in society because, of course, it is true that the poorest in society are the most vulnerable to fuel poverty by
But they're
definition.
they're also paying for that increase in prices. Like, this is being done to them too.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
not out of this just because this money is being, one-off given.
Yeah, it's not even given. This is a loan, right? We are borrowing and we are going to pay this back in the future. It was like when the government bailed out the failed gas companies. We're paying for that now. That's one of the reasons our energy bills are so high. It's because, as I said in my previous segment on this, is because we are paying to cover the government's backside for bailing out the companies that failed because of its communistic policies of price caps and things. Anyway, back to Sky, and let's talk about the details of this package. So the main headline here is a temporary targeted energy profits levy of 25% on profits of oil and gas firms, phased out when prices return to normal. Well, who decides what's the normal price?
The new normal. So there is no price it's going to go back to. So
No.
just, okay, the price of oil is now 25% in the UK. Fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you. On top of the green tax.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I mean, I really am just disappointed by the Conservatives every single day at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you would think, at the very least, okay, we know they're useless on social issues completely. You would think they have at least an iota of conservatism on economic issues, at least, but no, they're fully progressive. Yeah, I mean, I do wonder about the technicalities of this, of course. I mean, what if BP suddenly rebranded itself as a green energy company rather than an oil and gas firm, which they have been doing, by the way, for the past 10 years or more. They have a lot of technology that has nothing to do with oil. They have their own green energy arms of the business and so on. What do you have to do or be to qualify as an oil and gas firm, I wonder if there are loopholes there. We'll have to see.
I'm sure the oil guy and so forth will tell us in the comments.
Yeah, well, we look forward to seeing that. Yeah, so I just want to say on this point, I think this is economic suicide. When a government suddenly turns around and just grabs a load of cash off a business or person, not because they've done anything wrong. I mean, there's no one saying that BP or Shell or anyone has engaged in criminal behavior. They haven't broken the law. They've just made money. And so the government can just go and grab their money without even having the good graces to pretend it's a tax. It's just robbery. It's pure and simple. These firms have already paid tax on their profits, corporate tax. The government is just hiking the tax rate arbitrarily for short-term convenience. And this is going to have a tremendous knock-on effect for the British economy if we're not careful, disincentivizing companies from doing business here since property rights are no longer sacrosanct and merely subject to the whims of a government that is behaving in an arbitrary and tyrannical way. It also disincentivizes investment in other British stocks because good profits won't be returned to shareholders by dividend, they'll be snatched by the state, like this one. We started this mess, in a way, by confiscating property from Russian businessmen in the UK, including Roman Abramovich. I don't know if you remember that. The owner of Chelsea.
Part of the squad.
Bit of a difference.
Yeah, anyway.
And that's led to its precarious state. We set a precedent where government theft is the norm, if we just don't like these people. Many reasons not to like Russian oligarchs, don't get me wrong. But previously, the whole point of democracy, it evolved in this country as a way of stopping the king from doing this kind of thing. Stopping the king from just being able to say, oh, I need money for my war, I'm going to grab it here. Oh, I don't like you, execute him. That's the tyranny of the old monarchy that we tried to curtail with the growth of parliament, the growth of a rules-based democracy. And now we're just going hundreds of years backwards with these economically illiterate ideas.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Epoch series that's between Bo and John on Henry VI. And if you want to see what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.